Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. You love her on FX's You're the Worst. Now you can see Aya Cash in the new film, Social Animals, which is coming out June 1st. Let's take a look at the trailer.
People tell me that you don't have a lot of customers, so I choose to support another business. Woo! Lost my visor on that one.
You know what your problem is? Yeah, which one? You need to grow up. I know this isn't where you imagined yourself at this age. I don't know, it seems about right. You want any help with that?
I think I got it. I was going for simple and sad.
Oh, I think you nailed it. I worked so hard not to be a failure like my parents.
All right, small mouth, come on.
Seriously, Claire? What? I saw it on Groupon. I don't know how this is my life. Really? Because you're sleeping with a married guy and watching your business fail right before your eyes. Wow, you really have a way of making things sound worse than they are.
Hey, everybody, the absolutely wonderful Aya Cash. Let's hear it. Hi.
I swear I'm in that movie. Like, I know we're here for me to be in. I know the trailers. I'm in that movie. I promise.
She's in that movie. I told her before, she's my favorite part of that movie.
Oh,
I think
that's sweet.
I think you have the deepest character in that film.
Oh, I'm here, so yes, you have to say that. Thank you.
That's true. That's true. If Noelle Wells was sitting right there, she'd be.
You wouldn't be like, you know what?
Thing.
Aya Cash is my favorite part of that movie.
You were fine, but Aya Cash, I wish she was sitting here.
Yeah.
What made you want to do this film? It's a very different character than the one that you play on a regular basis in You're the Worst.
I mean, a couple things. I met Teresa, the writer-director, and I just really liked her. And then I thought the script was great. And then, like, look at all these awesome women. How often do you get to work with multiple women?
But you don't really. You're mostly with Josh Radnor in the movie.
Hey! I'm in this movie. But I just mean, like, there's lots of great lady parts. And yes, I spend most of the movie with him or with some other male attention.
That is true. That is true. Your character is kind of, I don't really want to say uptight. I don't think I say tightly wound, maybe. Uptight feels like a mostly female pejorative term. So we'll say a tightly wound woman.
I feel like society is moving somewhere. You're like,
I am at least.
Yeah.
No. So it's, like I said, very different from your character in You're the Worst. Did that also draw you to it as well?
Yeah. I mean, when I first met on this movie was 2 years before it shot. Because as you know, indie movies take forever. They put a whole other movie together, then it completely fell apart. So when I first met on this movie, they were like, read these two roles, read Zoe and Jane, and Zoe is Noelle's part. And I was like, you know, Zoe is great, like what a great part, but it seems very similar to what I've been doing. I'm actually more interested in Jane. And then I never heard anything for 2 years, and then I got hired 2 weeks before they started shooting. So it was a very...
So that's like a phone call that's like, hey, are you still available? Please, please, please?
Yeah, well, it was, completely last minute. They were like, hey, we're shooting in Austin in 2 weeks. Do you want to come? And I was just finishing You're the Worst, and I was going to go cross country, and I'd just gotten a dog. And I was like, I will do this movie if you pay for dog care. That was my diva actress move. And they
were like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like,
yeah, well, they said yes, but can Lucy be in the movie?
Right.
And I said, yes. So Lucy, my dog, is actually in the movie in one of the final scenes, and she has a credit in the movie, Lucy Cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cashing in on that pup, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Real stage mom with the dog.
Reasons I don't have children is I would pimp them out in a heartbeat.
I was thinking about that recently as to whether or not I would do that when I had kids. I think I would.
I mean, that's what traditionally, culturally, children were there to work for you, right? Like, that's why you had a big family.
That is what Trump is here to do, to break those child labor laws.
I can't.
Sorry.
I can't today.
I guess it's not funny because he's actually is trying to do
not,
that. But yeah, I was thinking about that.
Don't make me cry at AOL Build.
Wouldn't be the first.
Yep.
I was thinking about that recently. If I did have kids, I would kind of be like, if someone's like, they're so cute, they should be a model, I'd be like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Give me the money.
Yeah. My parents wouldn't let me do it until I was like, they were like, go to college and do that. And
Until it was hard.
yeah, I was like, it's a youth business. I'm doing fine. Don't feel sorry for me.
You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
I have a weird question about this movie. There's a credit in it, a producer on it by the name of Mark L. Lester that directed the movie Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the weirdest thing. You're looking at me right now like you have no idea who this person is or anything like that.
No clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, I knew that was going to go nowhere. It was just something that was a random. I think for a lot of boys, Commando is like a very big action movie.
Wow.
Has anyone here seen Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Thank you. Thanks. Kills like a whole
One
army in it.
person's like,
One person's like, yeah, I had that weird uncle too that made me watch it all the time. You're the Worst is going to be coming back for the final season, right?
correct. Yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm
sad?
Don't make me cry at AOL Build. No,
I'm going to make you cry.
I'm very sad. I'm very excited. We get to do one more, and I'm devastated that it's ending. Cause,
What are you going to miss the most?
I mean, you said that sort of ironically. I was like, what do you mean?
I'm trying to get you to cry.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna miss my coworkers, the writers, the actors, the crew. It's a big old family, and it's very sad it's ending. Also, it's really hard to get a good job, like in general in life, but also as an actor. Like it's just to find a job where you're so madly in love with everybody and so trusting of the scripts. And I mean, I just feel really #blessed, whatever. I feel really happy that I got to do it.
But once you kind of get the possibility of you sort of being able to jump on other ones that are just as good, now that people know that you can really handle quality writing as a performer seems more likely.
That
right?
would make sense.
Just trying to.
And yet, I mean,
and yet, you don't believe it will happen.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I'll never work again, but like working is. Our business is not like you reach this level and then you go here and then you do this. It goes like this. Yeah. So who knows what's next? I was talking all today about, I was a waitress not so long ago. Who knows? That may happen again.
10 years ago?
How long ago? I stopped waitressing probably 2000. When did I get traffic light? 2009? 2008? Yeah, so almost 10 years ago.
Which is not that long ago.
Yeah.
So you still have this feeling of like the rug could be pulled out from under you and you'll be back waitressing.
I just am very realistic about this industry, and I won the lottery with You're the Worst, and that may,
And Wolf of Wall Street, right? That was kind of a big moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's been like these great moments along the way, but the truth is that you're constantly having to go like, wait, I want to do this, and can pick me for this. So, we'll see what happens. I'm not like, I'm sure I'll work again. I just really want to do stuff that I think is fun and interesting with great people, which is why I did Social Animals. But honestly, there's a few reasons to do a job. There's money, there's people, and there's art. And sometimes they all meet up. And You're the Worst has been that. So
I feel like you also, when you're an actor, I said Wolf of Wall Street and You're the Worst. I mean, Wolf of Wall Street is probably like a few months of your life. Mm-hmm. And then You're the Worst probably shoots for a few months out of the year. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, that also probably adds to the feeling of the sort of up and down, all around aspect of the job, right?
Yeah, but that's also kind of what we get a kick at. Like, I think anybody who goes into this industry or any art in general, is not in it for the stability of it. I mean, I can complain all I want, but I like it. I like to switch jobs every couple months. I like to have new people and do new things and go new places. So in that way, as much as sometimes I'm like, God, it'd be so nice to just have something and sit down and stay put, it's not actually what I want. It's kind of like sleeping around in your 20s and like you're like, bear with me.
No, I'm with this.
Like, I didn't do that. I've been in a relationship my entire life, basically. And I'm always like...
You saw friends who did it.
Well, no, I'm always like, God, I wish I'd done that. But the truth is, I just would have ended up in a different relationship because it just wasn't... Like, I want to have done that, but I didn't. But I really hope everyone else does that because... I wish I'd done that.
Can I tell you something? I did a little. It was not great.
All right.
It was not great. All the relationships were better.
Yeah.
So you made the right decision.
Yeah.
Were you in the same relationship all through your 20s now that you're married? Mm-hmm. Wow.
I've been with the same person for almost 13 years.
So like since college, basically, right?
Since like middle school.
Since
Since
I'm not trying to get the
since
age.
middle school.
since middle school sounds great. When did you know that he was the one? When he asked the question.
Oh, I don't believe in the one, so I don't think he is the one. I think he's like one of the best.
That's great.
But I do think that I think there are many people that you can fall in love with. And meeting someone when you're 20, I'm thinking about the movie here, meeting someone when you're young is very different than meeting someone when you're in your 30s, or as I'm sure it is meeting someone in your 40s or 50s. Like, you just want different things and you're attracted to different people, and different kinds of things are important to you. So, I'm lucky that the person that I chose when I was very young, the qualities that he has are actually suitable for long term for now that I'm in my 30s. And I think that's kind of this movie too. Like, I'm in a relationship in this movie that is not going well at all, and but it's not that there was never love there, but they just are not the same people anymore. They're not suited anymore, and the things that you're attracted to at first are not necessarily the things that sustain. So
Yeah, they're two good people who are broken with each other.
completely, and the least likable parts of themselves with each other. Like, sometimes you become the worst side of yourself with your partner, and if you don't kind of check that, which, let's be real, long-term relationships are hard and take a lot of checking in and making sure that you're doing okay. And these people just sort of let it fall by the wayside, and then it turns to real resentment. So neither of them are happy. And what I like so much about the relationship is they're both the bad guy when they're together, but they're actually kind of the good guy when they're apart, and that's why the relationship can't work.
Well, I would say that she's struggling with more, I think, personally than he is. That was one of the reasons that I liked your character the most, because she seemed to have the most sort of complex issues that were not just about what was happening between her and this other guy, but what was happening with her emotionally, how she was growing and who she was becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think and I also think it's just different for women. I'm not going to say harder, because it's harder. What is harder? But it is different. The demands of being a young woman versus the demands of being a middle-aged woman versus societally, like what they tell you should be and who you should present, and you're supposed to be sexy and hot and fun when you're in your 20s, and then you're supposed to be responsible, and if you're a mom, you're supposed to act a certain way. There's a lot of messaging that goes out there about being a woman. So I think it's much more complicated for someone like Jane, who is a mother and who is in an unhappy relationship, and what being single might mean versus, and like connecting to her sexuality and wanting to still be desirable, but not understanding. Jane is, I love her, but she is not necessarily the most psychologically sophisticated. She's really struggling, but she doesn't have a lot of the tools. So she's sort of doing some very destructive things to try to figure out how to get back to herself.
She's exploring, though, which I think is...
Which is good,
Yeah.
but maybe not in the most positive ways.
Yeah, but at least she's trying to take that journey, and she's also the one who, at the beginning of the film, is the impetus for her partner's journey as well. So she clearly senses that something is broken and doesn't know if she wants to fix it or go on a journey to find out who they are at this point in their lives, which is really brave. She's kind of the bravest character in the film in some respects in the story.
Yeah, I would say thank you, but it has nothing to do with me.
It's all your
writing.
performance. It's all your
That's
performance. I also would say, you said it's different for women. I would say that it's really hard for men too.
Totally.
I don't. It's not true.
I mean, but no, I mean
So easy.
that conversation in this moment may get lost sometimes. I think, look, being human is hard, right? Like, that's just real, and no matter where you are, look, all of these people come from a place of privilege, but everybody's problems are their problems, and it is hard.
I think there's so much messaging, especially in a hyper-capitalist country, like where we're constantly surrounded by advertisements. There's so much messaging about who we are and who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to strive and how we're supposed to consistently be better in ourselves that for men or women, whether that's a message divided by gender or not, it's still a struggle. It's hard to take a moment and breathe and just be in the moment a lot of the times.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to tell what, Jane is buying a lot of things to try to sort of fill the hole, and she's literally building a fort around herself of stuff, which is a very common thing, and something that we as Americans are especially susceptible to, and especially now that we have the constant social media stuff of images of what our lives are supposed to look like, and if you buy this and if you do that, but it's also built into our society. It's capitalism.
Shop therapy.
Yeah.
Right.
Shop therapy, and we can all relate.
I'm guilty
to that.
of as well.
Me too.
When I'm very sad, I go buy records. It's very silly, but I buy records and Blu-rays, like a big nerd boy.
But at least that's like into art. You know what I mean? Like,
The Blu-rays literally, I'm like, yeah, I got my
don't-
Criterion, goes in a shelf, and then it never gets watched.
I'm impressed that you're buying those. I mean,
Someone's got to keep them open.
Yeah.
Someone's got to keep it alive.
I recently found my old cassette, not cassette tapes, VHS.
Oh, I have some.
I have some too, and I
you
couldn't
got?
get rid of it. I have like a weird couple. I have E.T., and then I have Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That's very solid.
Yeah, and then I can't remember what my third is. Is it Princess Bride? I have I just found.
It's like about right for our demographic and VHS.
But I have nothing to watch it on, so it's like more just the nostalgia of owning it, which is then you're just, again, more objects around you.
I got really obsessed with VHSs for a little while, and my partner, she's so sweet for Christmas, she got me 2 VHS tapes that she found on eBay for Christmas, these weird exploitation movies that she was like, you're gonna love these are so cool. We popped one in, VCR broke immediately. Have yet to fix it. It's been like
and
2 years.
you're like Googling VCR repair in New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
E.T., first movie I remember crying in.
Oh.
Yeah. You're killing him!
Yeah.
Tears.
I don't remember the first movie I cried in.
Really?
No.
What's the last movie you cried at? Or show? Or song?
I cried during Flint Town. I just watched all that.
That's real.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
I remember crying to an extent where people were like, "Is she okay?" during I Am Sam on a plane.
That's just the altitude.
I know that's a real thing.
Yeah. I cry during most movies on planes.
Yeah, but that's the last time I remember losing it at a theater. I mean, at a theater on a plane. I losing it while watching a movie.
I watch The Intern with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro on planes all the time. It's my favorite plane movie. Always cry. Always cry.
I did not cry at that movie.
Watch it on a plane.
Okay.
Watch it on a plane.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Question and last movie you cried at before you ask the question, please. Thank you.
Oh, God. I cried at 3 Billboards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, so good. My question is, early on in your career, what did you do between jobs or how did you stay artistically fulfilled?
So I feel like I should get a kickback from Julie Cameron on this because I read The Artist's Way a lot, right?
Great.
It's
Morning
so
Pages.
great. Morning Pages. It's like a guidebook of how to be artistic when you're not being requested to be. I found it incredibly helpful. She uses the word God a lot, which is not for me in terms of the way that I'm reading and processing. So that was hard, but she also says, replace this with whatever you like. It doesn't have to be God. It can be artistic spirit. It can be whatever the thing is that makes you go yes, that's the thing that I'm talking about. But she calls it God. But it's a really great workbook to do, to feel like, I was a waitress. I wasn't doing anything. And people would be like, what do you do? And I'd be so embarrassed to be like, I'm an actor. And it just makes you feel like, no, I get to say whatever I want. This is what I want to do. This is what I am doing, and I'm participating in an artistic life, and that's cool. So I would recommend that. My mom has a book called Ordinary Genius that is also more focused on writing, but is about that. I'm up for getting help wherever you can. So if it's self-help, if it's spirituality, if whatever it is, I think that's like a good place to go. And also consuming art, museums, plays, books, all that stuff. Really
doing it by yourself a lot of the time too. Julie Cameron talks about
Your
that.
artist state?
Your artist state, which I would do that on my own, but then when I read that book, I was like, yes, you're absolutely right. I consume things in a completely different way when I go to a movie alone or to play or a museum.
Yeah, when you're not processing with someone else immediately, or when you're not sort of looking to see what they feel about something, when you're just with yourself, I find it really helpful. And yeah, between jobs, I waited tables to make money.
Do you still do things, not necessarily like the artist way, but sort of taking help from wherever you can now that you're maybe working a little bit more in between jobs? Do you rush at kind of self-help things?
Yeah, I mean,
It's self-help. That's maybe the wrong word way to put it.
It is. I mean, it's the right word, but everybody hates it. I think yes and no. I find myself, like right now, I'm coming out of a show that I've been on for 5 years. I'm about to do this last season. I'm going to need a little help leaving that show and figuring out what I want to do and how I want to be creative and how I want to. So I also think doing the opposite is good, meaning like doing stuff that is totally not related to creativity or like
Dirt
totally.
bike racing? Have you been dirt bike racing lately?
No, I have not. But I just mean like interests that aren't like to make yourself more of an artist, just to like be a person is good too. And okay. You don't always have to be like, I'm looking out at the world in an artistic way. You can just like be a people.
Okay, next question. And last movie you cried at?
Last movie I cried at was The Lion King.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like when you first saw it, or you watched it again recently?
No, when I first saw it when I was a kid.
So you haven't cried since 1996?
Well, maybe there's a few times, but
Okay.
I think that was the last time I remember.
Okay, you're a tough guy.
So I was just wondering, since this is directed by a woman, I was wondering, like, was that one of the main factors that drew you into doing this film? And where do you see Hollywood going with this growing list of female directors taking a stand?
Yes, it is one of the reasons that drew me to it. I've been actively trying to work with female directors. There's a lot of first-time writer-directors that I've been working with recently, and I find that experience incredibly enjoyable. Also beginners, right? We all get so sort of set in our ways and think this is how you have to do something, and sometimes I feel like a first-time writer-director has a whole fresh perspective because they haven't learned the things that they're not supposed to do yet, and sometimes that breeds real creativity. So I've really enjoyed. I like working with people who are starting out as well. And by starting out, she'd done a lot of work, but she'd never had a feature before. So that draws me to it. And also, I think that Hollywood is hopefully changing. I think we're obviously in a big conversation about it, and where that conversation is going to go is sort of up in the air. But I have hope, mainly because I've worked with so many women recently. And this movie has not just a cast of lots of amazing women, but behind the scenes too. Almost every head of department was a woman. And the DP was a woman. And it's just, it's such an amazing experience to be on set with women working behind the scenes, because generally, even if there's a lot of women on screen, you're just surrounded by men on set. And I was saying earlier that even doing sex scenes, it's much more relaxed. Like when it's all women, it just feels like a different thing. So it's really enjoyable. But the fact that I've been able to find so many women to work with means that somebody's starting to actually give these women money to be able to make movies. And I hope that continues, because there is a huge gap to, we got a long ways to go, and I'm hoping that there's just more and more.
When you're on a set that's all women sort of running the departments and there's a woman behind the camera, both DP and directing, and mostly female cast, do you think back about your time at Wolf of Wall Street and juxtapose the
All
two?
men. Yeah, I mean, I also just did Game Over Man, which was
Oh,
a
that's
lot
right.
of,
Excuse me. Yeah.
a lot of men. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's not a place for those stories. I don't think that it's just that we've had more of those stories than maybe necessary total. Like that there needs to be a balance, but there's room for that. And Wolf of Wall Street was also just like, I was like, the entire time, I couldn't believe that I got to be there and listen to the stories of Rob Reiner, and it was insane. So
Right, because that was also like Martin Scorsese. They like really had all the money in the world to make the craziest movie that they wanted to make.
yeah, I mean, there was like a chimp on set one day, and there's snakes, and it was really fun in a totally different way. But I don't think I was thinking about the gender politics in that moment. I was just like, Martin Scorsese.
Was he nice?
So nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he laugh at all your performance a lot of the time? He's
Yeah.
apparently a big
I'm
laugher.
having deja vu. I feel like we talked about this.
I
the
think we
first
probably
time.
have.
Yeah, he laughs really easily, and that's really nice because I think he knows how scary everyone's just scared and wants to make him laugh, so he gives it up real quick. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more. What's the last movie that made you cry first?
I think the last movie that made me cry, it was either Call Me by Your Name or Coco. Either or. I remember being
I
in
haven't seen any. I'm so behind on my movie watching. You guys are
Call
gonna
Me
make.
by Your Name?
Or
No,
Coco?
I haven't seen it or Coco.
It's okay.
Good picks.
Thanks. So our last final question is coming from an online viewer. Stacy wanted to know, throughout the roles you've had in your career, from playing Gretchen and to do in this movie, which characters do you think you relate to the most?
I relate to. I mean, I feel like this is such a BS actor answer, but the truth, like every role I relate to somehow, and like different points in my life I relate to more. I often think Gretchen is like a sidestep of where I would have gone as a teenager had I like gone a slight, like if I had just like taken a left instead of a right at some point. So there's a lot in Gretchen that I relate to, even though right now my life is, I drive a Subaru. Like it's just not, it doesn't present that way, but there's a part of me that would have gone that way at some point. So there's a lot in Gretchen, and also they end up writing towards you. So I would say that that's pretty much the most that I connect to, but because it's also been built on me, they since the pilot, the writers have written for me, Aya. And that is something special, and that only really happens in television unless you're a movie star and somebody's like writing a movie with you in mind. Thank you.
So Aya, You're the Worst is coming back some point soon for the final season, right? We don't know
Sometime
when.
maybe this fall?
Maybe this fall?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be great. Mm-hmm. And congratulations on Social Animals. It opens June 1st, right?
Yeah, June 1st. And honestly, these are some of the most amazing women that I had seen, and I was so excited that I just got to be seen adjacent to them. So Fortune Feimster makes me laugh till I cry.
And Game Over Man is on Netflix right now as well.
Correct.
You can see you there. Aya Cash, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thank you.